we have questions tossed in, and then we hear the four of them talk about it. And as has already been demonstrated, you can jump in if you want to. Couple of things, right? And I think every set of speakers, they're going to bring in something that a lot of times we would agree with or we would disagree with. The one thing that I'd really request you to do is neither of them, just listen. Because there's a fantastic thing that happens in your brain, which is marination, right? So your own set of convictions, marinating in things that you might not even agree with, can come out to be something very fascinating, right? So throw in your questions, have everything, but let's have it as a learning exercise. All right. Yeah. Yes. So no, I need this one. So we have Gautam, Brahmjot, Antony, and Yatharth joining us.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
This is as young as it gets. All right, so we'll start with Brahmjot Kaur. Right, so Dr. Brahmjot Kaur has been an educator for 10 years, serving as a teacher, trainer, and administrative member at Awadh Collegiate, Lucknow. She holds qualification in education, English, psychology, engineering, business administration, coding, hacking, human resource, marketing, and finance, and every other thing that you've seen in a dictionary, along with, yes. Along with an honorary doctorate from the University of Central America. Passionate about teaching and learning, she champions skill-based education, soft skills curriculum, 21st century skills, and experiential learning. She has initiated a Montessori dedicated to experiential learning. As Awadh Collegiate celebrates its 30-year journey, she proudly serves as Joint Director, committed to empowering students. Welcome, Brahma. Thank you. This is really helpful. Next we have Gautam, who's the Pro Vice Chairman at Delhi Public School, Varanasi, Nashik, Nagpur, and Pune, all of them together. Right? With over 15 years of dedicated experience in initiating and managing K-12 education institutions across diverse regions, Gautam has consistently demonstrated a passion for fostering innovative learning environments and empowering students to excel, in addition to his professional endeavors. He's deeply passionate about fitness and endurance sports. As an accomplished marathon runner, he's competed in international marathons and conquered numerous half marathons, both domestically and abroad. One of his most memorable achievements was completing a half marathon at an altitude of 12,000 feet in Ladakh, underscoring his resilience and determination in the face of challenging conditions. I'm just out of breath reading that much. So forget about me doing marathons. Then we have Antony. Antony, do you still say it's recent that you've moved into the head of this thing, or is it? It is still recent, right? Yeah, it's just about a year, right? So, moved as the head of the Sterlite EdIndia Foundation. Antony has been the head of EdIndia Foundation, and prior to the current role, he's also worked as Chief Schools Excellence at Bharati Foundation. He has also worked with organizations like Save the Children, UNICEF, and Sightsavers International, having graduated from Irma, Gujarat, and being a product of Don Bosco education. Antony's commitment to the development of children is evident in everything he does. He is a Global Goodwill Ambassador, as declared by Global Goodwill Ambassador, a registered charity in USA. In addition to this, he has authored The Skills Edge, a book intended to promote the skills approach in school education. Last but not the least, Yatharth Gautam, who's the director and CEO of Birla Open Minds. Yatharth brings a wealth of experience, leadership, and execution skills to his role. He oversees all aspects of the company's operations and strategic expansion, ensuring an exceptional educational experience is delivered. With a demonstrated history of working in the education and commodities industry, Yatharth has played a crucial role in propelling the growth of Birla Open Minds. Under his leadership, the brand's footprint has expanded from 34 to 200 plus schools, with a steady growth in student numbers across all operational schools pan-India. Welcome. So the topic that we sort of thought would be interesting for everyone to listen to from the four of you really is that whenever we say teacher training, people immediately are thinking either B.Ed or the occasional CBSE, training of sorts, which someone was referring to with the samosas and all of those things, right? But there are other ways to train teachers, right? You can have teachers learn from each other, peer learning. There's onboarding of teachers itself, which is a whole space that's not being utilized very well. Right? Most schools, when you walk up with them and say, okay, what is your onboarding process? They're like, we get them to fill these forms and then these forms and then these forms, and they're formed, right? But it doesn't quite happen that way. So there are a lot of these spaces, and like your experience with so many schools and all of the experience collectively. What we'd like to hear about it, what are the different avenues for teacher training? What do you think are well-tapped, not so well-tapped? How do you think they could be also grown to create this entire teacher training to be not just something that's done on a spot basis or sporadically, but actually systematically built into the entire system of the career of the teacher, right? All yours now.
We can share this. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being so patient for our fishbowl. Somebody just talked about how teaching is not a very reputable profession, and teachers come into this with a mindset that this is their last resort. Well, I completely disagree with that mindset changing now. Why? Because A, they are seeing the purpose in what they are doing is translating into how children are shaping up. And our kids, especially 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, 12th graders also. This was 10 years back where you would say that children don't want to become teachers, but I think in my schools we are seeing a change in that. And how that has happened is with this 4-step process, what we did. One is the 4 R's, as we call it, relationship, relevance, rigor, and reflection. And once you have deep relationships with your students, they respect you and they want to be like you. When you challenge them with rigor, they are excited to reverse roles and come back as teachers. When they reflect on their learning, they truly believe that this is a profession which is going to get them to where they are. And like Lena said, show them a path. This is just the beginning. To be a teacher, you can be anybody with any profession. So while Anand asked us the question, what are the avenues of teacher training? I think in schools, we had this notion long back that teacher training is A, very expensive, and 2, time consuming. And we've broken both these myths. Within your school community, you will have teachers who are extremely passionate, and they could be champions of change within the school. So one, what we've done is we don't call our teachers teachers. They're called champion learners because they are learners first. And 2, continuity is a very, very important aspect of teacher training. So if you are going to bring in somebody from outside, do a 2-day training workshop or 3-day training workshop and go back, it's not going to have the same impact as somebody from within hand-holding your teachers through and through. So peer learning, peer observations, being in each other's classes, helping each other. On Saturdays, if you have a half-day working, that's what we do. We get them into a room, sort of an adda, where they discuss ideas, challenges, and that's how the learning begins. And once we show them and get them excited, then make them travel. Then take them to the next step. Then take them to classrooms which are doing better than what they've been doing. Get them to aspire to be that teacher. I think that's where, once you make them travel, they are so, the sparks are just flying, oh, we can even do this. They come back and the principals or the school leaders are flooded with ideas. It's not just about going there and eating samosas and dal makhani, but get them excited first. They should know why they are going for these trainings and how are they going to bring it back into their classrooms. So I think the avenues that are available to us today are A, look within your school community. There are enough resources within to train your teachers. 2, use online to break boundaries, to break these global boundaries. You can be in any part of the world, but online you could be learning from your peers abroad. And thirdly, there has to be continuity in whatever you're doing. So just don't do sporadic one-off trainings and expect magic to happen. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Warm welcome and good afternoon to our co-chairs, Anand sir and Aditi ma'am. And a warm welcome to all of you. My name is Dr. Brahmjot Kaur, and we are here to talk about the different avenues the teachers must have or possess before they go to the classrooms for classroom management. One very important question which was raised over here was that are we doing education correctly, and are the mark sheets and at the end of the day, the mark sheets are required also, and are we wasting the time of the students and the teachers in the classroom? So all I want is that when we enter the school as the most important stakeholders, that is the management or the school leaders, we need to essentiate the process that we are not wasting the time of the students and the teachers both. So how do we ensure that the time of the students and the teachers is not wasted? By ensuring a curriculum or a process which is good for both the teachers and the students. Now, if we talk about students and teachers, learning outcomes are important when it comes to teacher training, when it comes to classroom management. For teachers, I precisely feel that the teachers we have in the present scenario, we can call them motivational leaders, we can call them champions for education, we can call them whatever we want, but they have not been through an education system where they were trained to go and train the students we have today. So they are not pre-equipped or pre-learned to go to the classroom with what is required in the present classroom management scenario. So what exactly can be done? And that is where the teacher training comes into action. And what can be done to provide the teachers with the correct tools and the correct curriculum to go to the classroom to give that kind of learning outcome which we desire from the students who will be the future citizens of our country and global leaders. Now we require a more skill-based education in a system which already, now CBSE has come up with a lot of changes which we implement carefully. If we implement carefully, is going to create not only amazing students but also teachers. So now we have a few concepts and few curriculums which have come up which implemented properly with teachers and in the classroom can bring a beautiful change and the desired outcome for the future leaders. That is life skills curriculum. Initially teaching the students what exactly life is and what are the important skills required to go through this life, which we were not taught while we were growing up. The second most important thing which I personally feel is soft skills curriculum, which we teach students as to how to behave in public and how to bring out the best in themselves. Then the next comes skill-based education, skills-based education, which will help them curate a career, a passionate career for themselves, and will also help them in making money once they pass out from the school educational system. So these are the three important components of the CBSE education which we have implemented in the schools and which have given good results. And how? Now talking about the hows of it, skills-based education has social sciences lab, beauty and wellness lab, starting from class 6th onwards. And if you implement it nicely in your school, that gives a very beautiful practical experience to the students and teachers alike. Like if you have a beauty and wellness lab that is going to teach the child to be a wellness therapist or maybe a beauty trainer, and then the child after class 12th can open up a salon themselves, follow the passion of their choice and be learning in the school itself. So that's how skills-based education is a beautiful concept which is not only going to bring out the best in the child but also in the teachers, the trainers who are teaching it, because the teachers who will be teaching it will be passionate to teach that, and the learners who are willing to be in that classroom will be willing to go through that process. So these are the 3-4 most important curriculum changes which we have come up, and if implemented beautifully in the classroom, can bring changes in the teachers and the students and the trainers. All of the stakeholders will be happy. And the most important factor is that if the school leaders and the directors and the principals themselves are very well equipped with what exactly they need from the teachers and the students alike, then they will be in a more comfortable situation to make the, to engage all the stakeholders in them and create the best out of their own management system. So if we the leaders, we the trainers, we the teachers are well implemented and equipped with good curriculums, and we know what we want, what are the basic foundations which we want from our students, then we will be able to curate a beautiful experience for the classroom management, and the learning outcomes are going to be amazing. Even if we talk about experiential Montessori's, which I am personally heading, so that also, if activity-based learning is a very simple concept. Training. So if we have to train, okay, so we will pass on, sir, and then we can get back, sir.
Of course.
Okay.
So when we talk about teacher training avenues and what is not being used effectively, before we start finding new avenues, what I will always come back to is whatever the avenues that we have, we need to make it more effective. So if you have to start with pre-service, in fact I am working in the pre-service education institute with B.Ed colleges and D.Ed colleges. So that's where the whole change has to happen. In the previous fire church chat, Lena was talking about we need to break the cycle. Now we have got into a vicious circle. We are expecting teachers to deliver 21st century skills for the students in the school, whereas they are trained in 18th century skills in B.Ed colleges. So I think that's where the change, of course, NEP 2020 has given a lot of focus on that. That's the first level of teacher education has happened. And so the point that you made is very true. Whenever I go to the B.Ed colleges, it's only 20% raise hands saying that, okay, I wanted to become teacher, so I came in. Remaining 80%, it is the last choice, and they are not going to become teachers. So the problem that we are facing in the country may not be applicable to the teachers who are assembled in the schools here. They are all elite schools here, I guess. Even if you talk about CBSE school, that's only 30,000. Am I right? 30,000? CBSE school? We are having 1.4 million schools in the country. So 30,000 is nothing as far as 1.4 million talks about. Here we are having teachers in the school where they have proxy teachers to teach on their behalf. So that's some part of the state. So how are you going to train such teachers? How are you train such ad hoc teachers, contract teachers? There are various types of teachers. So the second type of training that is required is once they come into the pre-service, that needs to be touched upon very quickly and fast, and NEP 2020 is giving us a very good positive approach for that. Once they become teachers, the induction part of it. Because just like in any office, anyone joins after MBA or any other graduation, there is always an induction for them. And with regard to the teachers, there is hardly any induction. They are expected to deliver first day, first class onwards, go for it. So there should be induction training is not really made use of as of now, because people don't even talk about induction training. Then the third type of training that is still not being used, I think we have talked about so much in the last 1 hour, is the normal training, subject or pedagogical training that goes on. But there is also another type of training which is not being used, refresher training. Most of the time, at least in the remaining 1.4 million schools, let me say, out of the 30,000, most of the time topics are decided from the top and teachers are come to attend. In many of the states where we work, there are few teachers only expected to go and attend training. Not all the teachers come in. So the type of problem that we are facing in the country are very complex. It's not as simple as it looks. So what I would try to summarize the type of training that we need to really exploit is pre-service, so that at least the new teachers who are coming to the system should be sufficiently equipped, empowered to meet the necessities and the uncertainties of the future in the school education happens. We were talking about in the earlier morning session, AI in education. AI in education is going to transform. Are our teachers being prepared for that? So what are the contextualization needs to look at it, and what are the needs of the teachers. So many of the training that we are organizing, whether CBSE or state board, ICSE, it is a kind of a requirement from the top board saying that this is required. Are we doing a need assessment of the teachers before you moving into what needs to be done? We talk about so much about differentiated learning. Are we having differentiated learning for the teachers? No, it's like all of us are put together and say, go, let's do a blended learning. Maybe some of them may not be requiring it, or some of them may be requiring different levels of training. So if, I think earlier speakers also talked about, if you are expecting some students to do this in the class, we need to make sure that teachers need to go through the same experience while they are training. And the training cannot be a one-day affair, 2-day or 3-day. It has to be a continuum for throughout the year, year on year. Yes, how do we graduate to, how do we equate training or correlate with their progress in career? It's not going to be easy, because teaching career is the only career that have not too much of progression. And for that one, it has to be a big policy decision. Can the teachers become principal, then get into the block education officer, district education officer, and the directorate? Can we move into that before we get another cadre of people? So the larger issue is, how do we make teaching as an aspirational profession? Earlier speakers talked about there are many CEOs coming and becoming teachers. We don't have such stories. We need to make sure all the teachers here, let's say, how many of you are in the social media, very active, let's say LinkedIn? That tells it all. If we are proud of our teaching profession, we are ready that, we are convinced about what we do. We need to be out there, which is considered as professional network, LinkedIn. Most of us are in the Facebook still.
We will also ask them, why did these CEOs become CEOs before becoming teachers actually?
Yeah, so that's again another vicious question that we'll be asking. No, it's like who comes first, chicken or egg? What comes first rather? So we need to make sure whatever the good story that we have, bring it out there so that we get the best students. Just like in the morning session somebody talked about, we want best for our kids, but we don't want the best students to become teachers. And many of the schools responded that in the previous session, many of our students have started wanting to become teachers. Are they actually becoming teachers? How many percentage of your students in the elite school are becoming teachers? I can guarantee not even more than 10%. Tell me the data. Because it's, sorry? That's a bigger number. No, I'm saying it's a maximum. I'm talking not the minimum, maximum. Because we don't get the best students, definitely not in teaching. And that's what all the data shows. Because most of the time they go for doctor, engineer, bureaucrats. After that, there are 4, 5, 6, and if nothing else, go and become teacher. That is a priority, that is say. So just to conclude, there are various avenues which are there, but we need to relook at it with the aspect of what we need to develop among the students in the school. So starting with pre-service, that's where the real transformation has to take place. Because once they become teachers, it's very difficult to unlearn many of the things which they should do it during the training. So I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
So Anand, I took a leaf out of your book. I've marinated long enough, so I'm not going to go down the route of what avenues are there for teacher training, and I think the panel's covered it well. And quite honestly, I'm sitting with so much wisdom over here, I don't think I am the right person to tell you how to train. But I do observe a lot, and I'll just give you a couple of those observations which I've seen across all our schools pan-India, and even in this conference. Why do we complicate things so much? What is wrong in being simple? Right? We put so much pressure on teachers that they're supposed to know everything. Right? Do we know everything? It's easy to sit in a cabin and say, this should be the learning outcome, these children should come out like this, the parents should be happy, the child should be happy. What about the teacher? Yes, there are institutions who look after teachers really well, but I just think the weight of expectation is a little too high. NLP tomorrow is going to be XYZ, they're going to keep coming out with terminologies. Corporate houses, school owners will keep coming up with ways to put in jargon and make the parents go in circles. But I truly believe old is gold. I'm a little traditional in my thought process, contrary to the way I look and how young I am. Someone asked me yesterday, how are you to see, aren't you too young? So that shows one thought process. And when we all came over here, Aditi ma'am was kind enough to say, yes, young people, that shows another thought process. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is we need to be simple. Teacher training is definitely required, of course. There's nothing wrong in that. I mean, if we expect the children to give tests, I think teachers should also be put through that. It's only fair. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much it, Anand. Over to you.
So here's a question back for where we can go in any order. The teachers aren't children.
Yep.
The methodology to teach adults is not pedagogy.
Yep.
But you're training them to be pedagogues. So the manner in which they're being taught is neither conducive to the adults. Thank you. But was I audible? Yeah. Okay. The manner in which they're taught is not conducive to adults. It's not representative of how they should be teaching the students. So you have this mishmash of I'm being taught to do something in a manner that's not the best way, and I end up learning things which is not the best way to teach as well. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? How might training of different forms undo or chip away at that problem? You really have just 5 minutes. It's like one.
All right. So then, 4-5 sentences from my side. In fact, just to reiterate the point, we have many of our trainings. Yes, for teaching children, we are looking at pedagogy. When we look at adults, we need to look at andragogy as such. So, as Subir said in the earlier session, the science of learning and science of teaching both are different. So, what we need to look at is the methodology of transaction. In a training, the methodology of training has to change. Some of the thing, it gets into so much activity, it looks like treatment of children. They don't really go out and learning. When you look at the training, it's very engaging. But engaging is not enough. Have we changed their personality? Have they changed our inner self? Have we motivated them? Have they been changed into saying better teacher so that they're convinced about it? So that methodology cannot be activity equal to activity. So then the second point I would say is, what are the type of topics that are being selected? How are being selected? So is it need-based and even contextualized? And are we using that facilitator or the trainer, let me use the word trainer, as a facilitator or just a lecturer? So these are the few methodologies we need to change so that the adults who are in the room use the principles of andragogy to make sure that learning is completed so that they are not only able to, but they are also convinced that they have to go out there and change. Otherwise, like those of you who are Catholic, we will have to say the prayer at the end of training, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be. We will continue as it was in the beginning after fantastic training.
Go for it.
Okay. Anand, very relevant question that, how should teachers be trained? If I make it very simple, that's what you are asking, that's one of the challenges that we have, is that teachers, but I look at it the other way. I would say that one has to learn in the subconscious. One has to learn while doing the training, not just by the content of it, but more by the subconscious of how this training is affecting me internally, right? And a lot of times, like Sir said, you do a lot of engagement, you do a lot of activity, but you come back as the same teacher. And that would only and only change once you are able to reflect on the entire process. And when you're able to do that, you go back into the classroom and be the child in your mind. Is how my lesson plan, is it going to affect the child?
Sorry, and spot on, right? And I think the question really was that, is there a training or is there an engagement of sort where reflection is being taught? Right, because you're really worried about content or doing activities and things like that.
Yeah.
Reflection is being. Let me add another one. And a very fantastic point that Subirji shared was that it really boils down to change of belief systems. Nowhere in the B.Ed course or in any subsequent training that I've seen in any school is there ever a module about how do I even identify my belief systems and how do I go about sort of dealing with it. So that's what I was really asking you. Is your training effectively for what you want? Or are we going to train because...
Right,
you want...
Can I speak on that? A So the point is, validation is an internal thing, right? You can't seek external validation for your own self and beliefs. So any form of training that you're doing, whether it is in a workshop or you're doing it, in a seminar like this, reflection is a tool that you have to use at the end of the program, while doing the program. It is something that is going to be a part of your system. So you could have a program of journaling for the teachers, you could have a small program of note making, diary making, just snippets. In our schools, what we do is we have those small sticky notes which we hand out to teachers while the session is going on. So pick up excerpts that you really found really good. So these are reflections. And when they do that, we have a session at the end of that, and we talk about how did this learning happen? How did it go about? Don't just talk about the process. Talk about the layer below that. How did that make you think? So I think it's not about whether there is a particular aspect to this, but in all things that we do, whether it's workshops, seminars, online trainings, if you are not reflecting on the process, then you can't go back and do that in the classroom.
Exactly 1 minute left for the remaining 2 speakers. You can share it or?
So the belief system is, a lot of teachers come from different backgrounds. Supposedly we have 100 teachers. All of them might have different communities, different belief systems, different cultural environment. Once they all come together at a common platform, there has to be like sir was saying, induction programs, or sir was saying workshops or seminars or the teacher programs which we come up with. There has to be a same belief system which can be taught by the organization to the teachers, because at the end of the day, if 500 different people are trying to give their own belief systems, their own community cultural practices and their own ethics into the classroom, it is going to be a very varied experience for the child. So at the end of the day, which is why the NEP and NCF and teacher trainings come into action. But like we have, a very extensive coaching programs for maybe NEET or for IITs or for, for that matter, UPSC. We do not have that for teachers. It's very vague. The whole process is not very enhanced. The whole process is not very advanced. Like I have personally done B.Ed or M.Ed. The process of demonstrating and doing teacher demonstration in the classroom is there, but it is not well equipped, well enhanced, well implemented if we talk about. If we go through that well enhancement and that extensive coaching of students like we do for NEET or for IITs or for other like IIMs, we don't do it for teachers. It's very vague. The whole process is very vague. So similarly, the belief system is also very vague. We all can have a very vague belief system, but we all are sitting at the same platform under this umbrella of NEP, NCF, and following a common practices. Similarly, that is exactly what is supposed to be done for the teachers. Thank you so much, everybody.
So I think if you're going to change every belief system, and we see that with kids as well, we keep saying every child is different. Every teacher is different as well. So if you're going to change a belief system, you need to tap into what is it that the individual wants. Could be money, so as you pointed out earlier, maybe higher salaries. Explain to them how teacher training will enable them to get a better pay package later on, right? Motivate them through the right aspects that will pull on the right strings. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Thank you, everyone. I think we've announced lunch and conversation all the way to lunch. Thank you so much. Please, once again, if you could scan, if you could scan these codes for feedback, that might be useful to all of us.
So although I'm connected to you on LinkedIn,
Okay,
I am Ashutosh.
Okay, okay.
We do connect so many people, but it was really nice listening to you, and really, and one of this on the Manan book side.
Thank you, everyone. We are here back in half at 3 o'clock.
And also on the, I really wanted to, because we are currently doing things. I've been running schools for quite some time. 5 years back, I started a startup to help the children who are facing